What's up, friends? Today we're talking about how we transform through Jiu Jitsu and what's actually happening so that we can take that transformation and make it repeatable, reliable, and hopefully bring it into the rest of our lives. My name is Chris Matakas. I'm a Jiu Jitsu black belt, a school owner. I've written 13 books about using Jiu Jitsu as a vehicle for personal development. And I created this channel because so many people don't fulfill their potential on or off the mats, and I don't want you to be one of them. So when we talk about this idea of transforming through jiu-jitsu, I think there's something that is embedded within this idea that we could all benefit from that is not articulated often. So let's dive in. Alan Watts had this idea that the environment grows the organism. If you look outside and you see a tree, the tree doesn't exist in and of itself. It exists because of the soil, the sun, the water, the air. And human beings are the exact same thing. We cultivate the skills and attributes that our environment demands. And in modern living in the Western world, most of us are not given an environment that will call forth our highest selves. So we kind of have to seek it out. So jiu-jitsu becomes a sort of rite of passage. Now, within this, here's a really simple approach to understand what's happening. To use Jordan Peterson terms, we exist within a competence hierarchy, right? There is a varying degree of skill sets in jiu-jitsu, and we're all trying to climb that ladder and get to the top to fulfill our potential. Now, the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is that it's ever expanding and evolving. So that hierarchy we exist in is growing, so we have to grow with it or we get left behind. So we're presented with this opportunity where we're constantly confronted by our inadequacies and our ignorance, and we have to essentially make friends with what we don't know. We don't identify with who we are. We identify with who we're becoming. And in doing that, we're able to confront and address in a relatively humble way all the ways in which we fall short of our ideal. And in so doing, we develop a behavior pattern where we start to voluntarily go to places where we are weak so as to acquire strength. And the great swordsman himself, Musashi, had this idea: if you know the way broadly, you will see it in everything. And I believe that is the foundational transformative effect that we experience from jiu-jitsu. Because in pursuing mastery of this craft, we are cultivating the skill to pursue mastery in any craft. And for a lot of us, we pursue jiu-jitsu more sincerely than we have anything else in our lives, right? We have a teacher, we have a community, we have a curriculum, we have this art that we daily pursue and seek out what we have not yet become, but we know we could be. And the only way to do that is to voluntarily engage with where we are weak, what we don't understand, to humble ourselves in that unknown, in the chaos, to turn on aspects of ourselves to create skills that can only be created because an environment demanded that we have them for survival. So you take this pursuit, this heroic pursuit that we do in jiu-jitsu, where we accept failure, we pursue failure, and we doggedly work to get a little bit better each day. We are training a behavior pattern that becomes essentially like our primary software, and it becomes the way we interact with the world. And this is a framework that serves us everywhere else, in business, in our health, in our marriage, because we construct the identity. And again, like to use a Tony Robbins term, the strongest force in the human personality is the need to be consistent with one's identity. Through jiu-jitsu, we construct an identity of someone who voluntarily engages with our weaknesses and as a result becomes strong. And this is a skill we train through jiu-jitsu that bleeds into the rest of our lives. So I think when everyone comes into jiu-jitsu and their lives improve, this is fundamentally why. We are learning how to navigate the world through ignorance in a way that leads to tremendous joy. Because if you look at your instructors, the only reason they're teaching you is because they've failed way more than you have. And through failure, we find achievement. So I believe jiu-jitsu is an unrivaled vehicle for personal development, primarily because of how unbelievably difficult it is. And if we can voluntarily place ourselves in that difficult environment, it's unreasonable to think that we won't grow. And through that growth, it will bleed into the rest of our lives. So that's how we transform through jiu-jitsu, and that's why we need to be a steward of our practice and protect that time. Whatever your weekly quota is for you of how many training sessions you have or how many rounds you want to get in, we must protect that because we are protecting the environment that is causing us to evolve into who we're destined to become. So it turns out jiu-jitsu is way more than a form of self-defense. It is a vehicle for self-actualization, and that's something that deserves to be protected. So I wish you happy training. I wish you good transformation, and keep going because it matters way more than we realize. If you like this, please subscribe. We'll stay connected, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Be well.